Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those who are new, welcome. My name is Monica, and in today's video, I am going to be going over the last two TBRs from 2024, my Nora TBR, as well as my, I think the new release. It was the new release. Those two that I need to do. We're going to go over them right now. Okay, so let's do the new releases first. And the first book is House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. This is book 3 in her Crescent City series. And I gave this 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It had a lot of action and emotion. It was kind of sci-fi in parts, but I really enjoyed it. And had a lot of emotional trauma, which, if you read it, you know. But Arun and Lydia, they stole the show for me. They really did. But I really enjoyed the ending to Crescent City. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend just binging the entire series, so you do, because it's really one continuous story. So 5 stars for that one. And then I had Through the Gun by Samantha Young on there. I also gave this one 5 stars. This one is kind of clocked different, forced proximity, contemporary romance, and there was some suspense elements to this one. So this one is the 3rd book in the Highland series, and this is Sarah and Theo's. They are both writers, and this one was one of my favorites in the series. Sarah is a writer, and she's also a maid, and she works at the castle, whatever the castle's called. I think this is the castle that the Arnott family. I think it's the Arnott Castle. But anyway, I really enjoyed Sarah's character. She was a very strong character. I love my strong female characters. And they both had past trauma that came up in this relationship. And there was a suspense plot that worked really well, specifically a serial killer who was mimicking Theo's work. So really well done. I loved this book. It's one of my favorites. This whole series, the Highland series, is a very solid, very well done series by Samantha Young, and I recommend the whole series, but I really love this one. The next book that was on this list is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this 5 stars. I really liked it. For her first paranormal romance, I really enjoyed it. And this one was a marriage of convenience between Misery and Lo. Lo was our Ware, and she was a vampire. Misery is a vampire, and yeah, she was not like other girls. I understand that was kind of in there, but I really liked her as a character, and I really liked her Misery's relationship with Anna, who was one of the Ware girls who was at the compound that she ended up moving to after she married Lo. And I really liked Lo as a character. I thought he was a good male lead in a paranormal romance. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time in this book, so I gave it 5 stars. And then I had Ashes of You. This is book 5 in the Lost and Found series. This one is The Single Dad, and this one is Lawson and Hallie. Lawson is a single dad. He saved Hallie 5 years ago from when she escaped a serial killer, and she comes back and ends up nannying for him with his sons. The way she acted with his sons were fantastic. I loved it. She knew how to talk to his sons when Lawson, who really couldn't talk to his sons, specifically Luke. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the suspense plot, and this is the one that I really did guess who the villain is. And yes, because honestly, this villain, I actually thought he was going to be the villain in book 4, so that's why I was like, oh yeah, because I felt he was shady. But this is Age Gap Anxiety Rep. I highly recommend this one. This one's so good. Catherine Cowles just puts out really good books. The next one on this list is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. This one is Soledad's book. This is more women's fiction than romance, but Soledad's world comes crashing down when her husband is arrested, and her husband was a really bad guy, and Judah Cross is the one who helps bring her husband down, and it is Judah and Soledad's romance after everything happens to her and her children. I enjoyed this. I thought it was really well done. Kennedy Ryan can write. She's such a great writer. I love the character growth. I loved the emotional intelligence that the characters had. I enjoyed the autism representation in this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. I do recommend it. It's not as good as the first book in the series because I'm more of a romance reader than a women's fiction reader, but I really, really enjoyed this one. And then I had Blitz on my list, and this is by Devney Perry. This is the second book in the Treasure State Wildcat series. This is Torn and Jensen. They met on the 4th of July, had a one-night stand, and then weeks later, they reunited as he is a football coach at the school and she is a student athlete, and this is forbidden because they're not allowed to date. They did try to stay away from each other, and eventually they started sneaking around, and they quietly dated while she finished up her experience at college. The plot and the pacing was well done. The romance was good, and I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. This one I enjoyed. And then I read The Witch Queen of Halloween by Kresley Cole. This is her novella. It's book 18.5 in the Immortals After Dark series. I love the Immortal After Dark series. It's one of my favorite series of all time. And this one is Poppy and Rook. Rook is he's a smoke demon, and the ladies like Rook. So when they were on a date a couple years back, he was summoned out away from their date, which left her angry. So, but then now in the present time, they are stuck in this haunted house. Poppy's cursed that every horror movie character comes to life, and she has to fight them. So you have like, I think Jason from Friday the 13th, you had Chucky, you had, I think, Dracula, the Wolfman. You had all these characters that we would know if you ever watched horror. You'd probably know who the characters are. And she had to fight them in a haunted house, and Rook came and helped her, and they had communicated what everything was the way it was 2 years ago. And this is Fated Mates, and it had the fall vibes and the alpha hero, and I just loved every minute of this book. I love Kresley Cole. I love this series. I love this book. I gave it 4.5 stars, and this is a novella that I gave 4.5 stars, so that should say something. And then I had Abby Jimenez's Just for the Summer on my list. This is Justin and Emma. I've talked at length about this. I will link the video that I talked more about it below, so I'm not going to carry on with this one because this one is on my top lists of reads for 2024, and I just have to say I still think about this book and I enjoy it, and I highly recommend it. And then I had The Stranger I Wed. This is book 1 in the Doves of New York series by Harper St. George. So this is a historical romance. Love the cover. I gave this one 4 stars. I enjoyed it. Cora is a very practical heroine, and she knows she needs a husband to get her inheritance, and it has to be an aristocrat. So she meets Leopold Brendan, and he's the Earl of Devonworth, and he is an impoverished aristocrat. He needs her money. He's also a very good man. Cora and Leo, they strike up a deal where they would not have a physical relationship but a friendship in this marriage, and this was a very slowly developing romance, and it was a deep romance where once they fell hard in love with each other. I really did enjoy this. The characters were well developed. The plotting was good. I just needed a little more chemistry, and for them to be on page, Cora and Leo to be on page together a little earlier in the book to keep the chemistry developing more so. But I really enjoyed this. This is a great start to her series, and I gave it 4 stars. Then I had King of Sloth. This is book 4 in the Kings of Sin series by Anna Wong, and I gave this one, I believe, let me look. Yes, I gave it 5 stars. This one is the 4th book in the King of Sin series, and this one was Xavier Costello. He was a rich party boy with a tragic past. Sloane Kensington is his publicist and his babysitter. She was hired by his father to keep him in line. His father was a piece of crap. Anyway, and then everything changed when his father died, and then Xavier had to prove that he wasn't so slothful and had to make a business work. I really loved Xavier. He was very much sunshiny. He was very much a party boy, but he was very serious when he put his mind to something. I really loved Sloane, she was grumpy, she was cold, and she did not take anybody's crap. There are some reasons why she is like this. There was possessiveness and emotional connection between Xavier and Sloane that elevated this romance. This is a billionaire romance, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and I really liked this series. I like Anna Wan a lot. Like, she's becoming an autobi author for me. And then I had Play Along by Liz Tomforty on here, and I won't talk at length about this one, but I will say this because it's on my top list, my top reads of 2024. This one is one of the very few Married in Vegas books that truly worked for me. I loved Isaiah. He's such great book boyfriend material. I loved Kennedy. Kennedy is also a cold heroine, again for reasons, but the reasons made sense. And I loved Isaiah. I loved how they took care of each other and the way they bonded with each other. This book had such great character growth, and it was angsty, and I loved it, and I gave it 5 stars. This one is my favorite book in the Windy City series, so I do recommend this one. And then the last book on my new release for 2024 TBR was Wisteria. This is a very solid ending to the Belladonna series. This is Blythe and Fate's story. We get answers from the first 2 books in this. From the first 2 books in the story. We got some answers from questions and stuff that came up in the first 2 books in the series, and there were some inconsistencies in the plot. However, I really loved Blythe's character. I love how she subtly changed throughout the book. Fate was a very strong hero. I loved how they just did not like each other. They clashed at the very beginning. It's just really a true hate to love. And the ending felt a little rushed to me, but I enjoy the story as a whole, and I highly recommend this series. It is a great gothic romance, and it's YA, so there you go. Now, going on to my Nora TBR, the first book on there was Vision in White. This is the first book in the Bride Quartet series. This is Mac's book, and she's a wedding photographer. She doesn't believe in love or marriage because of her parents' manipulations and influence on her. Carter is a teacher, and he has pined for Max since high school. However, he's also the brother of the bride that they're working with, and that's how they reunited. And it was a great start to the series. I enjoyed my time in this, and the character growth was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, and I would recommend this book. Then the next book in the series is Bed of Roses, and our heroine is the florist in their little business, right? Emma Zoe had a crush on Jack. She wanted the HEA. She's very much a hopeless romantic. But he's a commitment phobe. They are definitely friends to lovers, and they work through their differences to get their HEA. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. It was a solid book in this series. And then the third book in the Bride Quartet series is Savor the Moment, and this one is Laurel McBain, and she's the baker in the friend group / business partners. Dell is Parker, who is going to be our last heroine in this series. Dell is Parker's brother. So this is best friend's brother. They've been friends since childhood, and they have both noticed each other, but they never acted on their feelings because of his sister Parker. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4.5 stars. He was a bit of a playboy, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I read this, but he went on a sex moratorium with Laurel because they both felt they needed to take their romance slow. So he was like, we're not gonna have sex until we really develop these feelings. And I actually liked that. I liked how he was protective over her, and I enjoyed this one. And the plot line, this one is the best plot line in the whole series, so I enjoyed this one. And then the last one is Happily Ever After. This is book 4 in the Bride Quartet series. This one I gave 4 stars. This is Parker. She's very A-type personality. She has to be very much controlled over everybody and everything. And Malcolm is the bad boy mechanic who was once a stunt double, and she could not control him, and he frustrated her. But they fell in love, and it was a really good book. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that Malcolm, or Mal, he had a big heart, and he cared about the people closest to him, including helping an employee learn how to read. Like, that was awesome. And I thought it was a great solid ending to a great contemporary romance series from Nora Roberts. And then I had Angel Falls on here, and this is a standalone romantic suspense. This one is Reese Gilmore. She was a lone survivor of a massacre, and she had to seek mental health treatment for this. She started off in Massachusetts, and she eventually moves to Wyoming, and that's where she meets Brody in a small town cafe, and she ends up working as the cook there. And then on a hike, Reese witnessed a murder. Brody did not, but he's the only one who believed her that this happened because there's no body, no trail, no nothing. So the killer knew how to get away with this. And this is such a great romance. She thinks she's unwell. The killer is manipulating her, trying to get her to think that she's crazy by pulling all these things on her. And it was very much psychological. And I enjoyed the romance. I enjoyed the suspense plot. I enjoyed the plot as a whole. And I really liked how everything was told. And I liked how we figured out who the villain is. And I gave it 5 stars. And then I had High Noon on my list, which is also another standalone romantic suspense. I gave this one 4.5 stars. Hey, so I was editing this and I kept tripping over my words and I couldn't figure out what I wanted to say and stuff. So here is the basic plot. Phoebe is our hostage negotiator. She is, she meets Duncan, the hero, when she talks one of his employees off the ledge after the employee gets caught stealing from his company and tries to kill himself. And then Duncan falls in love with her as they go along, but she also has all these men cops, yeah, all these cops who are like, they're the good old boys, and one of them attacks her. She survives. Duncan is just there for her, loves her, but she doesn't know she's being stalked, and her negotiations are being foiled by someone who really wants to kill her in a very insane and psychotic sort of way, and she prevails. And her and Duncan live happily ever after. So they ride off in the High Noon. And the High Noon is based upon a movie about good people versus bad people. And it's an older movie, never seen it. But the guy who is the stalker thinks he's a cowboy and stuff. So that is the summary of it. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I would recommend it. It was a great time. So go back to the rest of the video, and that saves you about 10-15 minutes of me going blah, 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 blah. Bye. Then I read The Reef. And this one was more adventurous romantic suspense. And they were looking for treasure and stuff, and I enjoyed it. It had the Mummy, Indiana Jones vibe, and it was fun. Matthew and Tate work together to find Angelique's curse, which is a very valuable and infamous necklace that has been lost at sea. And they're also being followed by the guy who killed Matthew's dad. And so this one is definitely opposite tracks, forced proximity. I enjoyed this one. The romance was a little heavy-handed, as typical 1990s Nora, but I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed the suspense. I enjoyed the romantic relationship between Matthew and Tate, and I would recommend this one. And then I read Blue Smoke, and this one is a romantic suspense. Rena is a narcissist. Rena survived a fire when she was a kid, and now she is an arson investigator, and an arsonist is our villain, and he is killing people that were important in her life, but she doesn't know it. She's being stalked, but she doesn't know it. And then until it starts to become apparent what's going on. This one was really well done. I enjoyed this one. The thing is the romance did take a backseat for it more, because it had more of a thriller plot to it, but I really enjoyed this one. I give 4 stars. I do recommend this one a lot as well. And then I had Come Sundown on this, and this one I'm not going to talk too much about. It's in my top 15 books of 2024. This one is my favorite that I've read from her so far, and this one is Boating Longbow, and it's more of a family saga, romantic suspense, and I'll link it down below. you really, really need to read this one. And I think Jess from Peace Love Book, we're going to be reading this one this year. So I'm so excited for everybody to be reading this one. And then I read Affair Royale. This one is book 1 in the Cordinia's royal family. And this one was written in 1986 and it read like it. This one was a royal bodyguard romance. And our princess Gabriella, or Brie, she was kidnapped. And Reeve, who was our hero, he was an ex-cop and he's American, is tasked to find her. And it was really good. There was definitely a suspense plot in this. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. And then I had Command Performance, which is book 2 in the Cordinia's Royal Family series on this list as well. And this one was more of, again, I also had a suspense plot. And there's a central villain that comes back and who's working for them. So Eve is a theater producer / socialite, and Prince Alexander is next, will be the next in line to rule. So he's the crown prince. And they quietly have pined for each other for 7 years. I enjoyed the character growth. I enjoyed the romance. I enjoyed the suspense plot. This one was really well done. And Alexander is definitely a typical Nora hero. And Eve is a strong heroine. I really liked this one. This one actually I think was my favorite in this series. So, and then the last one was The Playboy Prince. This was book 3 in the Cordinia's Royal Family series. And this one was a good conclusion to an established in a royal affair. The characters were good. The romance was good. There was some problematic stuff that happened between our hero and heroine, Bennett and Hannah. But ultimately, this was written in the 1980s. So, I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. If I have to really say anything, it'd probably be more like a 3.5 stars. And I would round it up to 4 stars. But I have it on here as 4 stars. So, anyway, so that is the last of my TBRs that I have done in 2024. This is it. We're done with 2024. All my content for 2024 is done. I have definitely had some favorite books that I've read this in 2024, and I am excited to see what is coming up in 2025. And let me know if you have read any of these. Are you interested in any of these books? Let me know down below. And if you made it this far in this video, please leave me a flower emoji since the Nora books had flowers on them. And until next time, my friends, happy reading. Bye.